Don't you know you are a blue waffle donut? Don't you know you are a blue waffle cream-filled donut? About time I start covering a couple of this guy's videos. There's only a couple I can really cover because the rest are just boring. A lot of his videos are where he defends cops who should be defended. And I agree with a lot of it because he'll never pick the ones like I pick where the cops are blatantly violating the law. He picks ones where cops actually need to use their weapons in a justified manner, which is fine, but you're basically showing cops that are doing their job the right way. What about the ones that are not? Why aren't the good ones arresting the bad ones? Etc., etc., etc. So, this is Donut Operator's video about how to handle a traffic stop. What to do if pulled over by police. Let's break this down John style, point by point. Here we go.
Hi everyone, Donut here and welcome to another video where you learn stuff. My friend...
That face should say it all. That's like where you learn stuff and then the face is like, yeah, right. Let's analyze this right away. To the left there you see, what is that, a Super Trooper thing? So he likes police, he likes comedy, and then the patches in the background are probably accolades for ruining people's lives.
Narrator asked me to do this video for a school project, so here it is. A lot of you may not know me. Who am I? What do I know about traffic stops? Well, I was a cop for a few years.
So he was a drug war SWAT cop, and right here he admits
I did a few hundred of them. Now
he's done a few hundred traffic stops. So this guy's impeded the freedom of hundreds of people. And I wish he told. See, the stat I want to know is, out of those hundreds of people whose freedom you impeded, how many were actually committing a crime against another person? Was there a victim? Was there any damages? Was there a victim or damages every time you impeded hundreds of people? And then here's a picture of Mike the Sovereign. This is Mike the cop. Him and Cream-Filled Donut. The names they go by is Donut Operator and Mike the Cop. I call him Cream-Filled Donut and Mike the Sovereign because, and this is another guy. They both came at me in one video. I'm going to make sure I thoroughly point by point destroy both of these videos here. So this is Mike the Cop.
few videos out there just like this one, but I've never made one, and I feel like the more people who see videos like this, the better. The more people who see a video like this, the safer we will all be on traffic stop.
The safer we will all be. In other words, when we impede your freedom, if you just comply and do exactly what we say and make sure that we don't fear for anything, as long as we don't fear for our safety at all while we're altering your life, impeding your freedom, and stealing your money, then everybody will be safe. That's the idea there.
You're driving down the road, the blue lights come on behind you, the pucker factor comes right into play. What do you do now? You pull over as far to the right as you can. If you're having trouble with that, look at your hands like this.
Okay, so if you're not hurting anybody and you're traveling down the road peacefully, trying to go about your day, and a guy with a gun decides that, I know you're not hurting anybody and there's no victim and no damages and you're not bothering anyone, but I need to impede your freedom, and I'm going to use my threat of violence to make sure you do it.
The hand that doesn't form an L for left means right. Pull over that way. If possible, pull into a parking lot where you won't be blocking traffic. This is very, very important because police officers do not like being hit by other motorists.
Citizens who aren't hurting anybody, causing a victim or damages to anybody, and not bothering anybody, they don't like having their freedom impeded by gunmen. So right here, he's just proven that traffic stops are unsafe for officers and for the person whose freedom they're impeding. That's what he's proven by showing these clips.
You alright? Just went through the red light. That light hadn't changed yet. It was still red.
So while that cop is cop-splaining to the guy who didn't hurt anybody, whose freedom he's impeding, a car comes and hits him.
The officer's approach to the vehicle is the scariest part for a police officer during a traffic stop, so stay in your car.
The scariest part for us is having our freedom impeded by gunmen. Why can't you guys just not do that unless there's an actual crime? Why is that not an option, Creamfield?
In the vehicle! Show me your hands! Show me your hands! Hey! Hey, don't be reaching down there. Just get out of the car.
Again, these are all legitimate video clips, and I'm sure most of these cops were justified. Well, depending on the initial stop. If a cop impedes somebody's freedom over a victimless crime with no damages, then what happens after that is it's on him. He created the situation. This is the part police apologists and Creamfield Donut and Mike the Sovereign always overlook. If you're impeding an American's freedom and he hasn't victimized anybody, violated anybody's rights, trespassed or hurt anybody or caused any damages, then you initiated the unlawful action. And then what happens after that, you always try to blame on the person whose freedom you're impeding, when in fact you created the unlawful situation to begin with.
Got a gun.
Why? Now they're in a gunfight. Nobody wants to be in a gunfight.
That's another lie. Police love getting into gunfights, and a lot of them join the force so they can have a gun, so they could eventually pull the trigger on somebody. That's another lie.
Before we go any further, let me just remind you all that this is not your traffic stop. This is the officer's traffic stop. You are detained, so do what...
Oh, there you go. There's your rapist mentality. Understand something. Once we turn on the lights for victimless crimes and code infractions, you have no rights anymore. We control you, and if you try to do anything, we're authorized to murder you over a stop sign or some other type of victimless crime. A tail light, a headlight out, etc., etc. This is the point that Donut Operator and Mike the Cop want to drive home. Because some politicians wrote some unconstitutional codes, ordinance, whatever they wrote, that violate the Fourth Amendment and the Constitution and freedom in general, that they feel they can use those unconstitutional laws to impede your freedom and control you and have complete control over you. And you are not allowed in any way, shape, or form to resist what they're doing. Not verbally, not anything, because they have the guns and they have the infractions on paper. They're not worried about the Constitution. Even though they all have discretion, instead of using their discretion and obeying the Fourth Amendment and the, freedom in general, the general idea of freedom and peace, they love the idea that a code infraction, like a license plate light, if one of those is out, now somehow they feel in their little mind that now they get to control you. Now I get to impede your freedom, and it's not your traffic stop. It's my traffic stop. This is my situation. I've been given this authority to take control of another human being who hasn't done anything to anybody.
Officer says, let's talk about your hands. The officer wants to see your hands at all times.
Alright, I just want to make sure that...
Again, these video clips are out of context. So, did you impede this guy's freedom for an actual crime? Or did you impede these people's freedom for a victimless crime? Because the Founding Fathers would do exactly what these guys are doing. The Founding Fathers started killing people over tea taxes, okay? Much less what we got going on today. The Second Amendment was made for government. It wasn't made for hunting.
No weapons or anything. Do not be reaching in there, partner. Can we get that? Subject to
Dude, think about how bad it's gotten in this country to where a guy would want to pull a gun on a cop. How fed up with your country or your situation or your life do you have to be to just say, oh, F it, I'm going to pull a gun on a cop, even though I know it's going to ruin my life? Think about what kind of mentality people are living under in this supposed free country where they're ready to just throw their life away because they're finally sick of being stopped by another cop, another government, another person trying to infringe on their life. This should say something. He's showing this as an example of bad people, when in fact, the majority of the time you create the situation. If there's no victim and there's no crime and there's no damages, you should be focused on actual crimes with actual victims instead of defending this. We need to be safe while we impede your freedom and steal your money.
Put your hands on top of your head. For what? Put your hands on top of your head. Put your hands on top of your head. Don't be. Good.
Again, this is taken out of context. Why is the cop again? I'm on the road that I pay for traveling, right? I'm not transporting anybody, hauling any cargo. I'm just trying to travel somewhere. I haven't done anything to anybody. I haven't victimized anybody. I haven't hurt anybody. I haven't trespassed anywhere. I haven't done anything unlawful. I haven't committed any crimes. And yet here you are, a gunman, impeding my freedom and then coming up to my personal private vehicle and opening the door as if now I'm your subject. You don't see a problem with this, cream-filled donut? We are not your subject. We actually pay you and we hired you to work for us. And we don't want you to impede our freedom under threat of violence. That's the part you keep skipping over in all your videos. Again, this guy is stopped. And it's amazing that there's this many video clips of guys who are just fed up with the government to the point where they're willing to throw their life away on the side of the road. How could that climate have been developed in this country if there wasn't a serious problem with government and violence?
When the officer is approaching your vehicle, don't dig around for crap inside of your car, even if it's the crap you know the officer is going to want from you. Put your hands on top
Don't do anything lawful while a cop has you under his control.
of the steering wheel and wait for further instructions. The officer
Make sure the officer feels completely safe so he doesn't have to murder you over a tag light.
is going to approach you and he's going to say something like, "Can I see your license, registration, and insurance information, please?"
Your papers, please. I schnein. Fine, sign, hide. Hein, schnein, your papers, please, or you may not pass. Donut operator. The idea that we need paperwork to freely travel around in a free country is so astonishingly imbecilic and stupid. And the fact that you claim to be some type of smart guy. Think about this donut. Do you work for the DMV or do you work for the people? Do you work for the courts or do you work for the people? The people don't want paid permission plastic cards to have to be able to go to the grocery store, pick up their kids from school, go to the local restaurant. The idea that you believe that you get to control other human beings because of a plastic card and some administrative paperwork, you have a screw loose, bro. You're indoctrinated and brainwashed into the police culture. Do you feel like you get to control other people when you're not out of uniform? If that's the case, then you have a double serious mental problem. But if you feel in general you get to control other people who haven't done anything to anybody, who are peaceful people, then you're the one living in an upside down world.
Now, here's where you're going to narrate yourself a little bit. You're going to say, officer, I'm going to reach over here to my glove box and get those for you. Hand them your stuff, remain in your car. They're going to walk back.
You need to narrate your actions so that the coward cop who has 60 rounds of ammunition and can cycle through many weapons to ruin your life with feels safe. Again, this is ultimate cop-splaining by this guy.
Back to your car with either a ticket, a verbal warning, or perhaps a written warning. Now, here's a...
So if you do all these things correctly and narrate your behavior and never get out of your car and never resist and always act perfectly polite to the guys to the armed men who are stealing your money on the roadside, then hopefully you'll get lucky and get a verbal warning, an extortion letter, or who knows what else. Otherwise, you could actually lose your life over a plastic card or a taillight. Right, cream-filled donut?
Super important part of this video could be one of the most important things, one of the most important pieces of advice you could take to heart. Don't argue with the cop.
The most important thing you could take to heart is don't argue with the government or a cop. And you had to get super close to the microphone to emphasize that you do not get to argue with cops, regardless if they know the law, regardless if they're following the law. You, as an American, you are a subject to policemen. And once your tag light is out, your freedom is over for the amount of time the police, the armed man in the costume, gets to impede your freedom for.
Then do not argue with police. They are supermen, and they're armed. It's not worth risking your life over.
This guy is such a coward, man. I swear to God. By the way, I've challenged him to a debate at least 20 times. He tried to wish me a Merry Christmas. Dude, you came at me with your retardedness, you and Mike the Sovereign Cop, and you think you're going to wish me a Merry Christmas and it's all over? No, dude. You're a loser. You're an indoctrinated, brainwashed, violence-condoning loser. I even saw one of your videos where you defended a police chief who tasered an 80-year-old woman who was gathering greens to make her husband a salad, like my grandmother did all the time. You defended a cop electrocuting an 80-year-old woman for gathering greens.
I want to be standing on the side of the road arguing with you. They're done with their job at this point.
Oh, they're done with their job. You see, they're basically waitresses for the DMV in the court. They go out and they steal a little bit of money from everybody, and it piles up, and then we can keep this whole extortion racket going, and we can keep this whole government and keep it growing and get more and more violent, you see. And then I can grow a mustache and pretend like this is all done with the moral high ground.
The side of the road is not court. If you think the cop is wrong,
the side of the road isn't court. How about this? We don't want to go to court, bro, over a tag light, over paperwork. We want to go to the grocery store without being stopped by guys with guns. What is it that you don't get over this? Why don't you understand that? You're the one initiating the violence and the aggression. You're the aggressor.
Bring your evidence to court and argue it there.
Just go to court. Hey, man, you want to fight your $250 ticket? Just take a day off work, take a day away from your family, then go get arraigned, right? Then go back. And at the arraignment, they're like, well, if you choose to fight this, we could fine you a lot more money if you choose to fight this. That's what they tell you at the arraignment, because they want you to take a no contest plea or, whatever. You're the sheep, and then they shear you at the court. And the people who say just take it to court are complete imbeciles. Bro, the courts are corrupt. If you don't know that, you're a moron. I wonder how many police reports this guy's lied on.
Not on the side of the road. If the cop tells you to do something...
Dude, cops are at the front line. The side of the road is the front line. Cops need to be scolded to stop doing and enforcing unconstitutional laws with no victim and no damages. No, you're wrong, dude. You need scolding. Theft is wrong. Impeding freedom is wrong. Unless there's a victim or some damages, you shouldn't be bothering anybody. You should be keeping the peace and investigating crimes with a victim and damages. You shouldn't be running around the streets working for the DMV. Here's the great part too, right here.
And it doesn't sound quite right. The side of the road is not court. If you think the cop is wrong, bring your evidence to court and argue it there, not on the side of the road.
So if he tells you to roll the window down when you don't have to, he's saying just do it. That way he can get to you, blind you, electrocute you, have a clean shot on you. And then, if you don't die or lose a limb or lose your sight or something, then you could take it to court. Again, this is the same guy who defended a police chief who electrocuted an 80-year-old grandma for collecting salad greens for her husband. You're such a punk, dude. Listen to this crap now.
Cop tells you to do something that doesn't sound quite right. As long as it's not dangerous, just go ahead and do it. Because
as long as it's not dangerous. Rolling down. So when a cop tells me to roll my window down, roll your window down. To me, that sounds dangerous. To them, it's because they said so. So that means they can get to me a lot easier. They can unlock my door. They can reach in my car. Everything I don't want them doing to me, cream-filled donut.
If they're wrong, then you can sue their department and get paid. Honestly,
because if they're wrong, you can just sue their department and get paid. Dude, if it was that easy, you guys would never do half the things you do. Suing a department's not easy. Filing in internal affairs, 95% of the time you find yourselves innocent, even though I've filed complaints where I've verbatim quoted the law the police were violating, and they respond to me by saying, oh, they were within the department policy. So department policy trumps federal law, federal civil rights laws. Police policy trumps all the laws.
Cop told me to take all my clothes off and rub peanut butter on my naked body while spinning in circles. I would do it because I'm gonna be rich, bitch. Other important...
If a cop told me to get completely naked, juggle his balls in front of my wife and kids, and lick his frenulum, I would do it, see, because then my family would be rich. Sure, I'd be known as the guy who licked the cop's frenulum while rubbing peanut butter on my nipples, but you don't understand. He's got the guns. He don't need to be frustrated by you. Just lick his frenulum and juggle his balls in front of your family. You understand? Because you had a tag light out.
Things to remember, don't be a Karen with a K.
You may shut the up and not tell me when I may take my kid.
Don't be a Stephanie.
Don't be an assertive citizen.
Ma'am, the ticket's already written. I can't void a summons once it's already written.
I'll call Sheena.
That's fine. You're more than welcome to do that, ma'am.
Skinhead cop. Choose two.
Okay.
Don't be...
Good for her. Again, don't insult us because we have little fragile egos. Don't you ever say anything to us that we can't handle. We might just kill you.
a Jennifer. Don't get out of your car.
What's the matter, bureaucrat? You thought police were your friend? You thought you had special privileges because you're a legislator? No. It's the Blue Line Gang, homie, and you ain't in it.
Even if you're an angry little man with a beard.
That's pretty funny. Good for him. Hop out of there. Hop out of a giant SUV. That's probably not an SUV. That's like, for him, that's an RV.
5B 1051.
Oh, there you go. So the guy steps out of his car completely unarmed, and because he's talking louder than the cop likes, the cop decides that it's time to electrocute another human being. This is what Donut Operator defends. Violence against peaceful, unarmed people who have victimized no one and damaged or trespassed nowhere. Come on, bro. This is what you condone? Violence against unarmed, peaceful people? You think this is American? You think that's what freedom is?
Definitely don't be a sovereign citizen.
Here's the best part. This is the best part. Don't be a sovereign citizen. So, let this play here.
License. 5B 1051.
Definitely don't be a sovereign citizen.
And my license or registration?
I'm asking him for his supervisor. Is the opportunity to read. Whoa.
You're gonna break my window. I'll open my door. No!
Oh, people are getting shot by the police.
they're showing a bunch of videos of police committing violence against peaceful people. And he says, don't be a sovereign citizen. Which one's the sovereign citizen in these video clips, Creamfield Donut? The peaceful people, unarmed peaceful people, or the aggressive people who are attacking people and destroying their property? Which one of those is a sovereign citizen? So these police are committing violence against people who are simply talking in America, who believe they have the right to move around freely in a free country. I mean, that's a crazy concept in police culture. I understand that grown human beings get to travel on the roads that they pay for without gunmen assaulting them. So you show a bunch of videos of police assaulting peaceful people, damaging their property, busting their windows open, and then you say, don't be a sovereign citizen? So the aggressors who are committing all the violence in these video clips, they're doing it and they're going to get away with it. So they're the sovereign citizens you're talking about? The people committing violence in these video clips you posted here are committing violence against peaceful, unarmed people. Are those the guys you're talking about that are sovereigns? Because they're going to get away with that, right? They're the ones committing the violence?
Okay, I'm getting out.
Other things that are important to know.
So don't be a sovereign citizen. Don't be one of these people who believes you have the right to freely move around in a free country that on the roads that you pay for. Don't be one of those guys, or else we're going to have to commit violence against you. This is what Donut Operator is promoting right there. Don't be one of those people who believe you have freedom and can just go around the country freely without gunmen impeding your freedom and taking control over you and possibly killing you, electrocuting you, stealing your money, ruining your life, taking away time from you and your family. Don't be one of those people. God, you're such an idiot, bro. You showed a bunch of video clips of cops committing violence against peaceful people, and you're trying to claim, don't be the peaceful people. Don't be one of those peaceful people who believes they have a right to travel around a free country. Don't be one of those people. You're such a punk, dude.
During a traffic stop are some things that you may have questions about. What if you have a gun? Well, some states require that you tell the officer that you do have the gun. Some states don't. Just check your local laws. But if your gun is located in the same exact spot where you keep all that information the officer's going to want to see, make sure you tell them before you reach in there. Make sure you don't pull a Vodaman, pull your gun out, rack it, take the magazine out, and lay it on your dashboard in front of the police officer.
My magazine will get dropped into the seat, and this is what it's going to look.
Wait. I thought you told him he should narrate his actions. So this guy's narrating his actions. Narrate your actions, except don't do it with a gun, which is perfectly lawful in America.
Like when you roll up to my car.
If you'd like more information about having a weapon on a traffic stop, make sure to check out Mike the Cop's video about that.
Mike the Sovereign. Yeah, you're next, dude.
Do you have to get out of the car when the officer tells you to? The answer to that is yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Supreme Court failed the American people again, and they gave police more powers in a court case called Pennsylvania versus Mims, where, and the idea is that it's for the officer safety, and Creamfield Donut keeps trying to spin it as, if a cop tells you to get out, you have to get out for any reason. It's not for any reason, homie. It's for their safety. It's for police officer safety. You know, you don't have enough weapons, guns, bullets, cars, means of aggression. You also need legislation to protect you, right? Because you're the tough blue line gang. You're the punishers, right? I just lost my train of thought there.
No matter what it's about, if the officer tells you to get out of your car,
yeah, Pennsylvania versus Mims. No matter what it's about. No, it's supposed to be for officer safety. So when I go to court and I say, why'd you make me get out of the car? And he says, oh, officer safety, because that's the first thing they spit out when you ask them why you want to get out. Then you say, were my hands on the steering wheel? Yes. Did you see any weapons? No. What was it that made you feel unsafe? Punk.
Get out of your car. You can thank the Supreme Court case of Pennsylvania versus Mims for that.
You can thank the corrupt Supreme Court for eroding some more of your constitutional rights inside your own private vehicle. You can thank them. Donut Operator thinks it's a good thing that the Supreme Court has eroded away more of the Fourth Amendment.
Go ahead and Google and read about it a little bit. Do you have to answer questions? Not necessarily, but
Not necessarily. Another lie. No, you don't have to answer questions ever. No, you don't. It's not necessarily. Again, that's a little cop-splaining. Not necessarily. I want you to be factual, bro. You don't ever have to answer questions. Ever.
Promise you, if you're at least pleasant to the officer, then it very, very much decreases your chances of getting a ticket.
I promise you that if you kiss their ass, lick their boots, lick their frenulum, and rub peanut butter on your nipples, chances are they will rape you a little bit less. These are my tips, and I'm cream-filled donut.
Unless they're a state trooper, then you're definitely getting a ticket. Can they search you or your vehicle? That is a huge question. Again, Mike the Cop made a good video on that. I might make one.
Fourth Amendment. There's your Fourth Amendment again. If they see something in plain sight that's illegal, they can search. There's exigent circumstances, but in general, there has to be reasonable, articulable suspicion of an actual crime and probable cause to get a warrant to search, and specifically describing the person or things to be searched and or seized. By the way, a traffic stop in and of itself is a seizure of your person. You are being seized. Okay?
One day, go ahead and check his video out if you're interested in that question a little bit more. Does the police officer have to read you your Miranda rights? This is a big one. They absolutely do not have to read you your...
It's not a big one. Miranda rights are garbage. You have rights before Miranda. You have the right to remain silent well before Miranda, well before you're arrested, and you should... And by remaining silent, I don't mean remaining completely silent. I mean, I'll answer and talk when I feel like it, and I'll answer the questions I feel like answering, and I'll say what I want, and you're not going to get the answers you want from me because what I have to say and your questions are irrelevant. Mind your business, dude. Mind your business. Go test out a rape kit that's been sitting on the shelf for years. I bet if one of your relatives were raped by some psychopath, you'd think twice about giving a traffic ticket and maybe want to go find that person, right? Donut operator?
Miranda rights, unless they plan on asking you questions. They could arrest you, take you all the way to the jail, book you in, and leave without having to read you Miranda rights. Do police officers have quotas for tickets? I personally have never seen or heard of any other department that has quotas. Can you...
You're living under a rock, dude. There's only plenty of undercover audio from New York saying, I don't care what you got to do. You bust them. You stop them. You frisk them. We get these numbers up or else you're going on blah, 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 blah. You're such a ignorant douche.
Record the police officer. Absolutely, you can record the police officer, but remember, this also ties into showing the officer your hands at all times. If you are going to record the police officer...
So what law says we have to show you our hands at all times? Is that a law? Or is that just something you want because your vagina keeps puckering? If you can't... Dude, if your job is that scary, even though roofers and garbage men are far more dangerous jobs, but people don't praise roofers and garbage men like they do these guys in costumes, these gunmen. If your job is that scary for you, I'll say become a roofer, but that's more dangerous of a job. Dude, go become a librarian if you're that big of a pansy.
Make sure it doesn't impede with the safety of the officer. When they walk up...
Make sure you don't impede the safety of the man who's willing to take your money, kill you, tase you, rape your children, kill your dog. Make sure though that person's safety is 100% obvious, okay? That person's safety matters more than anything else during a traffic stop. That officer has to get home to your family, whether the person he's stopping dies or not. Tag light equals impeding a freedom equals do what I say equals if you don't, you're gonna die. Comply or die. Hashtag pedo mustache.
To the window, just don't go, I'm recording you. I think that about wraps up everything I can think of about traffic stops at the moment. If you can think of anything further, please leave it in the comments below. Just go over it one more time. Pull over to the right as far as you can for the officer's safety. Keep your hands on top of your steering wheel when the officer walks up to your car. Follow their instructions, tell them what you're doing, and be...
Follow their instructions whether they're lawful or not. Peanut butter on the nipples, licking some balls. You know how I do with this awesome mustache of mine. Look at this mustache. I'm snarky. That's why I have $500,000. I can't believe this guy has $500,000. And it's such milquetoast garbage. This could be debunked. So probably the majority of the stuff this guy says could be debunked. There's one other video I want to cover of his, and then I don't know. This guy is such a douche nozzle that. And look at all your accolades in the back. I mean, who does that, bro? You throw that stuff in a junk drawer. That means nothing. That means how many people have you oppressed to gain all them patches?
Nice person. I would like to thank my buddy Overheard on duty for coming up with the majority of the stuff we talked about today. It kept me from having to write a giant script and spending all day working on this. Before we get off here,
spending all day trying to tell you how to obey your oppressors on the side of the road.
I just want to personally thank each and every one of my patrons at patreon.com/donutoperator. I was discussing with my mods today about...
This guy makes a lot of money. He's got 1,800 Patreon followers or something. That's a good chunk of change right there, not to mention all the money he makes from YouTube. So this guy perpetuating police propaganda, lies, and unconstitutional ideals has earned him a lot of money. People get mad when I make money.
Adding some pretty amazing tiers in there, including a $25 tier where I'm going to be throwing people's pictures of your face, pictures of your...
So for $25, he'll throw your face somewhere. There's a good screenshot. There you go. There you go. Cream-filled donut. Just obey your oppressors. Make sure they always feel safe because all the weapons and stuff they have isn't enough. If you're not hurting anybody, bothering anybody, and just trying to get to the grocery store, and one of these gunmen stop you, make sure they can see your hands at all times. Make sure you don't ever say anything they don't like or will hurt their feelings or their ego. And everything will be fine. Basically, you treat guys who don't know the law carrying a gun like they're heroes